Okay, we're starting some apricot wine. I just pulled these out of the freezer last night, let them sit overnight to thaw out. Then I put a little bit of water on them. It's about 1.5 gallons of water. And I'm just going to mash them up and warm them up to 160 degrees. So when they get up to 160 degrees, we'll come back. But right now we're just working on mashing them up and getting the juice out of them and pasteurizing them. Still heating up, but I wanted to see what it looked like when I got all the apricots smashed up. It's kind of a thick mixture. Got the skins and stuff in there, but we'll get it all out eventually. Okay, there's just another peek at what we're doing while we're heating it up. Okay, so since this is so thick and there's lots of fruit in there, we're going to do some bentonite to help it clear. It'll help clear it out. So I've got a cup of water in here heating up. Once it starts boiling, I'll add 4 teaspoons of this bentonite. It's a clay-like substance, and it just sticks to the particles and helps it clear faster, especially where we have all those pectins and stuff in the fruit. If you can see how thick it is. I mean, we're going to add more water to it so it won't be that thick, but we're going to have to clear all that out of there, and it's going to take some time, so this will help it along its way. Okay, so we got it boiling. We'll go ahead and add the 4 teaspoons of bentonite in there. This stuff is really gloopy, so you're going to have to stir and stir and stir to get it to thin out. And we just want to make like a little slurry with it. Make sure you get all the lumps stirred out of it. Got a big old lump in there, so we're going to have to stir a bit. Let me stir this and I'll come back and show you. Okay, I've stirred till I got most of the lumps out. Oh, sorry, we're fogging up there. As you can see, it's a real thick, pasty type stuff. We're just going to dump this down into the bottom of our fermentation bucket, and then we'll add our juice and fruit on top of it, and it'll just mix in there. We'll mix it in there, and it'll help it clear. Okay, as you can see, we just poured that slurry of the bentonite down in the bucket. I did add a little bit more water to it to break it down a little more once I got it in the bucket, but that's what we do in a sanitized bucket. There we go. Okay, so now I have a bucket of sanitizer here. I'm going to drop some clothespins in there and my mesh bag. This is going to help catch all the fruit to keep it out of the wine, and we'll just be able to pull it out. It'll mostly just be skins when we pull it out, but we want to make sure that's sanitized. Okay, we're at 167, so we're going to turn the temperature down a little bit and just keep it at that temperature. And now we're going to add 8 pounds of sugar. So we'll go ahead and add that in, and I'll stir it in. I don't know if I said, but this is about 25 pounds of fruit. It still has the seeds in it, but we're going to strain those out. So I'll go ahead and get that sugar stirred in, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we've got our sugar mixed in here. 8 pounds of sugar. We're going to keep it at a temperature between 150 and 170 for 10 to 15 minutes. In my opinion, 10 minutes is good, but you can go 15 if you want. This just pasteurizes it, makes sure any bad things that are in it, like bacteria or anything, are dead. So we'll go ahead and steep this for 10 minutes, and then we'll get back to you. Okay, and while that's steeping, we're going to grab our drain bag out of our sanitizer, and we're going to put it down in our bucket here. This will catch all of the pits out of the wine must that we're making here. Get this down in here, and then that's what the clothespins are for. We'll Put some of those around to hold it on when we pour our must in here. I do about 6 clothespins around it just to hold it tight. So that's all ready for when it gets done with our steep. Okay, so we're to the last couple minutes of the steep. We're going to chill this, so I'm going to put my wort chiller down in there. This will help sanitize it in this temperature for the last few minutes. So we'll put that down in there and we'll hook it up to the water line over here. It just screws onto your tap here. And then you'll turn on the cold water and it'll cycle through and then drain back into the sink. Okay, so it's done with the 10-minute pasteurization steeping. So I've got my wort chiller in here. I've moved it off of the heat. I've turned the water on, and as you can see, it runs up this line into the wort chiller, runs through the wort chiller with cold water down into the hot pot, comes back out the other tube, and I got it running back to the sink. And as you can see, it's coming through. And as that's doing that, we'll stir this every once in a while, and we'll get it down to about 100 degrees, and then we'll dump it in our bucket. So we'll just let it cool off. Okay, so we're down to 102 degrees. We've got our must in here. We're gonna we're gonna go ahead and dump it down into our bucket. Okay, so we got our bucket. We're gonna go ahead and dump this down in there. Okay, and there it is in there. Looks like we lost a couple of clothespins. That's okay, they were sanitized anyway. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, so it's really thick. We're gonna add a gallon of cold water to it. See if we can get it to thin out a little bit. Besides that, we need it for the volume, so. And then we'll stir it up here. That thinned it out pretty good there. Okay, so we've taken a hydrometer reading. It's 1.010, so we're just going to call that good. So now we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium metabisulfite. This will just help kill off anything else that might still be in there. We'll stir that in, and then we'll cover it with a towel, and we'll pitch the yeast in the morning. Okay, so here's our apricot wine. It's been sitting 24 hours. Pull the towel off here. And we're going to give it a good stir, get in some oxygen. So I'm going to sanitize my stir stick here. And we'll give it a good stir. You want to introduce some oxygen in here. It'll be good for the yeast. Stir that all up. Alright, and then to that we're going to add 3 teaspoons of acid blend. This will just help balance it out a little bit. So we'll put 3 teaspoons of that down in there. And then we're going to put in 3 teaspoons of pectic enzyme. This will help break down the pectins that are in the fruit and help it clear out a little bit in the end. So we'll do 3 teaspoons of that. And it's actually a half a teaspoon per gallon, but we got 6 gallons, so we're doing 3 teaspoons. Alright, then we'll mix that in there. Alright, so we've got our Monachie yeast. We've got it on the stir plate here. So we're going to go ahead and take the tin foil off the top and turn it off. And we're going to dump our yeast starter right down into our apricot wine. This is our must. Just dump that down in there. And then we'll sanitize our lid here real quick. We'll snap that down on there. And we'll add our airlock. And we'll be good to go. We'll come back and check on it tomorrow after work. Okay, here it is 24 hours after we pitched the yeast. If you listen, you can hear it sizzling. It's fermenting away. So we'll just cover it back up and let it ferment. Okay, so here's our apricot. I went ahead and cracked the lid. It's been 14 days, so we're going to take a hydrometer reading. That's what it looks like. Looks like we got a few skins and stuff that got in there, but we'll transfer it out of those now. Okay, so we've taken a hydrometer reading and it's at 1.010, so it should have actually been racked a couple days ago into the carboy, but we're going to go ahead and do that now. So I've got a carboy all sanitized and ready, and got my racking cane over here in the sanitizer. We're gonna go ahead and rack that down. Just a reminder, you want to make sure everything from this point on is sanitized. So let's go ahead and rack it. Okay, so I've just stuck the racking cane in and started the siphon, and now it's siphoning down into the jug. First little bit was had a lot of sediment in it, but looks like we're running kind of clear now. Got some air in there. Let's try and get that out. Okay, so I was having some troubles getting it to siphon, but some skins got caught up in the bottom of the siphon tube, so we cleaned that out and it's going now. So we're just racking it down. And we'll fill it up just to the bottom of the neck here. Leave just a little bit of airspace in there, and I'll show you that when we're done. Okay, so we've got it all racked down into the carboy. We're just going to put a bung in there, and then we'll let that sit for a minute, and then we'll put the airlock in, and we'll move it into the closet for further fermentation. Okay, so here's our apricot wine in the closet. We're going to go ahead and shut the light out and let it sit in the dark for about a month or so, and then we'll come back and re-rack it.